Dzień dobry, witam Państwa na pierwszym webinarze z cyklu Open to BIM, organizowanym przez Construsoft i prowadzonym pod patronatem Stowarzyszenia buildingSMART Polska, którego członkiem jest także nasza firma. Temat dzisiejszego spotkania to IFC Nie, takie, straszne, czyli o narzędziach Tekla Structures dla standardów CAS i buildingSMART. Dzisiejszy webinar poprowadzi dla Państwa nasz kolega z Czech, Jan Princ, który jest liderem zespołu deweloperskiego Construsoft, a także jest członkiem Komitetu do Spraw Implementacji BIM przy Czeskiej Agencji Normalizacyjnej CAS. Ja nazywam się Dominik Marsy i będę asystował przy tym webinarze oraz postaram się odpowiedzieć na Państwa pytania na zakończenie tego webinaru. Korzystając z okazji, pragnę również zachęcić Państwa do śledzenia, lajkowania oraz komentowania naszych treści zamieszczanych w mediach społecznościowych, na Facebooku, Twitterze, LinkedInie oraz na YouTubie. Na czas webinaru Państwa mikrofony pozostaną wyciszone. Wszystkie pytania można wpisywać w panelu, w polu Questions. Postaramy się po zakończeniu webinaru odpowiedzieć na niektóre z nich. Na pozostałe prześlemy Państwu odpowiedzi, jeżeli będzie ich więcej. Za pomocą strzałki dostępnej obok panelu można zwinąć ten panel GoToWebinar, aby nie zasłaniał nam okna prezentacji. W trakcie dzisiejszego spotkania zostaną przedstawione i omówione 3 narzędzia IFC Extender, DSS Tool oraz Dynamic Properties, przy tworzeniu których czynny udział brał nasz gość oraz które powstały w odpowiedzi na potrzeby naszych klientów chcących efektywniej współpracować, bazując właśnie na formacie IFC. Przejdźmy zatem do prezentacji. Hello, Jan.
Hello, Dominic. Thank you for your introduction. Good morning, everybody.
Let's switch to you and please share us your screen.
Yep.
Now you are a presenter.
Hello. Once again, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Everything is fine.
Yes, you can. Great. So, as I was introduced, my name is Jan Princ. I am from Construsoft, Czech Republic, and I will tell you a little bit about implementing data standards into the BIM software from the Czech point of view and also from the international point of view, because I think the story is quite similar in different countries, not only in Europe. Everywhere where BIM is implemented into the real life of structure building, because the data standards and BIM digital data exchange is required by governments, municipalities, national agencies, authorities around railroad and highway building, or large contractors, international contractors, and so on. And usually these data standards are different. They are similar but different, and based on different rules and based on the different work style. And each authority, each site likes to push their work style to reach the one national or international standard. So then the goal of the national agencies is to establish a universal standard which is beneficial for everybody if they do it in good way. And the role of CAD vendors like Tekla Structures or Construsoft in our case is to make the software as flexible and as ready for the users, so it's really not scary as for the customers, and it's really user friendly for them, and it's helpful. I will start with the Czech experience. The national plan for BIM implementation started in 2018, where it was decided by the government, and the BIM documentation will be mandatory for municipal project since the upcoming year. And as Dominic said, it's Czech Agency for Standardization, ČAS, Česká agentura pro standardizaci, who created project of BIM koncepce, conception BIM, which is like collecting all the data and trying to or creating the best standard for everybody in the market. And so they started from 2017 with pilot projects which were realized and evaluated, and there were different expert groups created around these projects, again talking about the standard and preparing standard from different point of views, like engineers and CAD vendors, and that's our part of the story in there. And the key questions in this implementation of data standard IFC and of course classification CCI, which was decided for the Czech Republic's, where who will fill in all the extra descriptive data which will be needed by government, who is responsible that this data is valid, who distribute the workload, how to force not only engineers but everybody in the process to change their style of work. So this was discussed, and there were answers found during the process on this. If we mention the areas which must be or should be covered by CAD vendors, so again, our part of the story, it's of course IFC format support based on buildingSMART standards, the national standards, and not only national standards, because as I mentioned, there are different data standards required by other authorities, and the classification, which in our case is CCI. My or our experience from this process is that each CAD vendor, nobody was at the beginning fully ready for this, and each CAD vendor had to adapt his software to be 100% ready for the national format and make the system the most automated and user-friendly for users, of course. And in this area, Construsoft was or is still lucky to have the implementation power and freedom to get Tekla ready for this. So now I can tell that we can easily support all the format requirements in Czech, and not only in Czech, with Tekla Structures. At the beginning, talking about a few years ago, there are of course the native powers of Tekla Structures in this field, like export to IFC 3.2, export IFC 4, import IFC organizer, which can be nicely adapted for classification or data standards or handling different entities or spatial zones, options to export classification from projects, additional property files, or as well there was a lot of implementation made in this area recently. So in Tekla Structures 2022, you can find, for example, the bridge IFC export files, which are based on the IFC 4.3 scheme. Plus this, we had to develop, and we were pleased to develop some extra functionality. And in Construsoft, and as a source of information for our development, we took buildingSMART standards, BIMlocket, which is Dutch agency for standardizations covering their formats, the Czech experience, what means CHAS, Czech Agency for Standardization, CCI classification, and we as well cooperated and analyzed feedback from different countries like France, Portugal, Holland, Poland, Czech, and so on. Why in Czech we decided to choose CCI classification? CCI classification is based on Danish Kuneco classification system, and it's free to be used and free to be downloaded. So it has at least a chance to have some international reach, because the goal of the Czech Agency for Standardization wasn't just to create something special Czech, which will be blocking our users to work on international projects or with their partners worldwide. We like to really have some solution which will have like better powers internationally. So we decided for CCI classification, which is free to be joined. This initiative is free to be joined by other countries. So far there are 4 countries: Estonia, Czechia, Poland, and Slovakia, and then there are 2 informal partners, Sweden and Denmark. And the greatest advantages of CCI classifications are that it's new and really made for digital and automated processing. It's a facet system, so you can categorize your entities from different point of views. And as well, it doesn't go too much into details, and it has limited number of classified object types. And that's really great, because then it's easier for the responsible person to decide how to categorize the object we are talking about. So it's much easier to work with the classification. Well, in the second part of my presentation, I will show you 3 tools we made to help our customers in this story, in the BIM implementation. The first of them is IFC extender ML126, which is extending the current IFC export of Tekla Structures, and it offers a list of newly supported IFC entities for parts and assemblies, some more over the list which is already offered by Tekla. It offers possibility to export predefined types, exporting property sets according to newly defined IFC entities, and so on. I'll show you in a second. Then the second tool is DSS, which is tool originally made for Czech market, but because it's made based on easily editable Excel file, which is coming from CCI classification. It's easy to adapt for different countries using CCI classification as well. And this tool helps the automation process in filling in CCI codes. It's whispering the codes for you, so you don't need to remember all of the codes, and it's checking if all the objects in the model are classified. And the last tool I will show you, it's Dynamic Properties ML147. It's really powerful help if you like to freely and massively work or handling dynamic properties in UDA, in Tekla model, in compare with object INP, as Tekla users know. This is really dynamic and flexible, and you can easily in Microsoft Excel table set up your data standard or create link from any data standard on the market to your Excel file, and then use it in Tekla Structures. And you can even categorize your entities in Tekla model, not based only on Tekla model objects like beam, column, panel, and so on, but you can use whatever number of categories you like to and your format requires. And then you can again check, edit, and export this data to IFC and extend your model. I'll show you this now live in Tekla Structures. Starting with CCI classification, check data standard. You see I have a simple model just for this presentation. In this model, there is a simple bridge and simple wall. I will start check data standard tool, check for all CCI codes. And you see I have plenty of objects in there, just 3 of them are classified. These are these 3 objects, the door, window, and the wall. I can highlight any of the objects, check if it's really the object I like to show, and then I can fill in the CCI code, which consists of functional system, constructive system, and code component. Here is the complete CCI code of the component. I can, if I am not satisfied with the code in here, for example, I can browse for the code, and I can filter just write the first 3 letters, and I can choose from the list which window I like to put in. Then I can complete the CCI code, copy it to selected objects, update in model, and then model is updated. Later on, I can check, for example, only for uncompleted codes, check what is not filled in, and make it ready for the finalizing of your model. When my model is classified, I can use IFC extender. And IFC extender, you know, it's looking similar like IFC export, but there is a lot of new functions helping with the IFC export, making your exported model even more rich. And the most important thing is that you can define your IFC entity and the subtype. You have it in Tekla 2022, you have it here now, but we have our own categorization here. So here you can select that this is in fact a wall object of Tekla Structures, but we like to export it as IFC door with subtype or predefined type gate. And here we have window, which I have, just for the case of this presentation, created as user-defined entity, so it will be exported as object with this IFC entity. So it's IFC window. For my case, the same thing you can do for assemblies and so on. These extra IFC entities you can extend with extended property sets. So I will export for IFC door and IFC window. I will export the CCI code and other opening properties just for this presentation. And in IFC extender, if I would like to, I could export even or define the predefined types for different objects, or export IFC properties, export properties as a result of formula, like you know from template editor and so on. So if I go to IFC export, I will just select these 3 and export them. Check for the file in Trimble Connect. And in there, you shall see that it's IFC window type, not defined subtype, and I have exported CCI code as we defined in the model, and special property set for openings, and the same in case of IFC door type, which is subtype gate. If I go back to Tekla Structures, I will show you the last tool I like to show you today, and that's dynamic properties. Dynamic properties is based on simple Excel file, as I mentioned before. In my case, I'll just show you for a second. It's Excel file consisting of 3 sheets: element types, property sets, properties. So in here I have all the element types and the property sets which are linked to them. Here for each property set, I have the list of all properties, and then I have list of properties and their types, subtypes, and even I can, there are only 2, but in practice there will be most of the properties will be filled automatically again based on the result of formulas like you know from template editor. So you don't need to fill in all the values manually. That's the plan. That's the how the tool should help. So if I start dynamic properties, you can see I have here a column, but in my categorization it's a pile, so it has these UDAs offered to user. Here I have a wall, and this wall is categorized as wing wall, so I have these UDAs, and there is another wall which is categorized as crash berries, so it has again different UDAs. I can fill in these UDAs. I can fill in these UDAs for more objects at once, set these UDAs, it's written to the model, then I can export these values to the model. And if I go to the model, just briefly show you as the last part of my presentation. You can see that in the pile there are all the special property sets created by dynamic properties written, so it can be used by user. So that's it from my presentation. That's what we made for our customers to handle BIM standards and classification and IFC export, and don't be scared of this. Thank you very much for having me here, and good luck with BIM.